Hello everyone, I welcome you all to my YouTube channel Learn Life Science. So in today's video, I'm again going to talk on another protocol, important protocol, and therefore I have labeled here a research lab class. Okay, so we are going to discuss a technique which is affinity chromatography, and specifically speaking, I'm going to talk about the extraction and purification of protein by this technique. Okay, so the points which we are going to cover is, first I will give you a basic background behind the protocol, means about the protein nature. Then we will talk about the standardized protocol for affinity chromatography. Then what kind of forces are involved in order to stabilize the protein and the affinity molecule interaction, right? And then I'm also going to cover a review on lectin purification by affinity chromatography. This part basically covers the work which have been done for the lectin purification by using this technique. Okay, so now the thing is why we purify the protein. Okay, we go through several stages of protein purification. So what is the purpose of pure protein? Okay, so the pure protein is used for different studies. For example, we generally use it for structural characterization, then its study on exploration of its function in nature, means its function in the cell, and also majorly the studies on its ability to recognize receptors and also induce different cellular responses. The protein has wide role in a cell. Okay, from cell signaling to metabolism to every part, protein is very much essential. Okay, so whenever we are studying on any topic, when we are in demand of pure protein, we go through different techniques of protein extraction and then purification. Okay, then I'm going to talk about the protein stabilization. So the protein activity is due to maintenance of a protein structure that may be stabilized by strong bonds like disulfide bridges and weak bonds like hydrophobic interactions and hydrogen electrostatic or saline bonds. In this point, they have mentioned about the stability of protein. Okay, about the stability of protein. As we know that the primary structure of protein is stabilized by the covalent bond, then the secondary structure of protein is stabilized by the hydrogen bond. The tertiary structure is stabilized by different hydrophobic interactions between the residues. Then the quaternary structures is also stabilized by several non-covalent interaction. So overall, these different weak interactions, these non-covalent interaction together stabilizes the protein. Okay, why I'm talking about stability? Because whenever you are working with proteins, when you are performing several protocols and you are using different kinds of chemicals, reagents, then it is must that you are stabilizing or you are maintaining the stability of protein. Okay, so this is a natural thing. It is a natural interaction by which the proteins are stabilized within a cell. Okay, so for this stabilization, for this non-covalent interaction, the protein are dependent on the environmental condition in which they are present, right? So in order to maintain their stability, they depend on the environmental condition. For example, in the cells, the proteins are dependent in the cellular environment, right? But whenever we are working on proteins in vitro, means in laboratory, we will have to maintain the same environmental conditions in order to keep the protein in its stabilized form, right? Therefore it is very much important to maintain several parameters like the pH, then the ionic strength, then the temperature of the solution, and also the dielectric constant of the solution in which the protein is present, right? These parameters are important when you are working with the protein extraction from a cell to the purification step. Whatever stages you are going through, it is important that you are maintaining or you are trying to maintain the environmental conditions in order to maintain their stability or in order to keep them active. The balance of these parameters characteristic for each protein is essential for obtainment of a pure molecule in its native form. If you are maintaining these parameters, then you are definitely going to get a pure molecule, a pure protein in your last stage. Okay, and the pure protein will be not only be pure, it will be active also. Okay, then this was about the stabilization of protein. Then in a purification process, when we are trying to purify a protein, several parameters should be considered. For example, the first thing is the selection of the procedure for protein extraction from biological source. Whatever biological source you are targeting, for example, you are targeting microbial cell or you are targeting plant cells, then you will have to go through different stages for extraction of protein, right? For example, the first step basically is the cell lysis, right? Cell lysis can be a physical method or a chemical method. More commonly, chemical method is utilized by using different kinds of enzymes for the cell lysis and release of cellular contents into the solution, right? In this case, we use lysozyme. Then you can also use a hypotonic solution in order to burst the cell and release its cellular contents, right? Then you can also perform differential centrifugation technique, which is organelle, which is for isolation of organelle specific protein. Okay, organelle specific protein, for example, if you are trying to target the proteins in the mitochondria or the nucleus or the ribosome, then you can go through differential centrifugation technique in which the organelles are isolated with their respective density. Okay, with according to their density, the centrifugation is performed, and at every stage of centrifugation, a target organelle is isolated. Okay, so you can go through these different techniques for the extraction of the protein from biological source. Okay, then the next stage is to monitor the protein concentration. In order to determine the protein concentration in the extract, in the crude extract, you can go through immunological techniques, in which immunochemical technique, which can determine the protein even in very low concentration. Okay, apart from that, there are different quantitative assays which involve use of reagents for determining the protein concentration. The next stage is what are the different methods that you are performing for the solubilization. Okay, for the solubilization of the protein. Basically, at this stage, after the extraction process, we go through different method like salt fractionation. You might have heard about the salting in and salting out. Then we go through organic solvent fractionation, in which we use organic solvent for precipitation of protein from the solution. Then we also use organic polymers for precipitation of proteins like polyethylene glycols. Okay, so these are the different fractionation method in which we precipitate the protein out from the solution. Okay, then in order to maintain the environmental conditions, we use buffer. Okay, the buffer can be used to maintain the environment. Okay, the environment means a proper temperature, a proper pH, a proper ionic strength. Then apart from that, you can use sodium azide in the buffer, which is going to act as a bacteriostatic agent. Okay, it is going to act as a bacteriostatic agent. Then many a time the buffer can also contain chelating agents like EDTA, which chelate the divalent cations. Okay, then these are the different parameters while going through the protocol. Okay, the protocol in the sense from extraction to purification, we go through several stages. So these are the different parameters that we go through. Okay, now we will be talking about affinity chromatography. Till now we have studied that we were talking about proteins and its stabilized condition. Okay, the proteins, till now you have extracted the protein from a biological source, from a cell, and for example you are having a crude extract, then you are going to treat the crude extract with different stages that I have mentioned, and then finally you will have a solution, a partially mixture, which you are going to apply for affinity chromatography. Okay, we will also talk about the sample which we are going to use for affinity chromatography. Okay, at this point we have extracted, we are having the crude extract, then we have treated the crude extract with at different level. Okay, and then we are finally having a partial mixture of proteins, and now we are going to perform affinity chromatography. So affinity chromatography basically exploits the unique property of extremely specific biological interaction. Extremely specific biological interaction is the basic of this affinity chromatography. In this case, what we generally do, the molecules which are having specific interaction with another molecules can easily be isolated or purified from a sample. Okay, so on the basis of specific biological interaction between different molecules, for example enzyme or substrate, antigen or antibody, lectin or sugar, as well as biotin or avidin, these molecules show specific biological interaction, means these molecules are specific to each other, right? So on the basis of this specific biological interaction, you can separate and you can purify them by using this affinity chromatography technique. Okay, the technique requires that the material to be isolated, means the target molecule which is to be isolated should be capable of reversible binding to the specific ligand, okay, that is attached to the matrix. Okay, the technique requires that the material which you are targeting should be capable of reversible binding to the ligand that is attached to an insoluble matrix. For example, I have given here a rough diagram of affinity column. Okay, this is your column and this is the matrix. For example, the matrix is composed of any polysaccharide gel, and on this matrix you have immobilized ligand. Okay, for example, you have immobilized ligand. This is your immobilized ligand. Okay, this immobilized ligand is, for example, these are antibody. We know that antibody and antigen interaction is highly specific. Okay, so for example, in this case the ligand is the antibody and the matrix is a gel made up of any polysaccharide. Okay, and the target molecule is your antigen. Okay, for example, you are having a mixture of antigen, then you can simply load it in this column, and you have what you will see, only the specific antigen which are specific to the antibody will bind to the immobilized, only the specific antigen will bind to the immobilized antibody, and the remaining which are non-specific antigen are going to elute out from the column. Okay, they are simply going to elute out from the column. These compounds can be therefore washed away and the desired molecule can be recovered by displacement method, okay, which we are going to study in the general protocol. Okay, so this was about the affinity chromatography. The main point is that the method requires a detailed preliminary knowledge of the structural and biological specificity of the compound to be purified. Okay, and this is because the separation conditions that are most likely to be successful, that can be carefully planned. Okay, so the basic of this protocol is the specific biological interaction, okay, between different molecules which I have enlisted here. Okay, so the technique was originally developed for the purification of enzymes by using this technique, and the substrate were immobilized on the column, okay, on the matrix for the purification of enzyme from the mixture of enzymes. Okay, now many proteins have the ability to bind strongly to specific molecules and thus can be purified by affinity chromatography. So finally we are going to talk about the protein isolation from a mixture by using affinity chromatography technique. Okay, so what are the general steps? The first step is initially the affinity support must be equilibrated with a binding buffer to achieve adequate condition for affinity interaction between the protein and immobilized molecule. In the picture, you can see that this is the matrix and these are the ligands which are going to act as a molecule for specific binding with the protein. Okay, the first thing is that you will have to equilibrate the column. Okay, and the equilibration of column is generally done by a buffer of appropriate pH. Okay, the buffer should be of optimum pH with the protein. Okay, so it should be equilibrated with the buffer first. Okay, and the next step, when an impure solution, for example a crude extract, if you are having a crude extract or a partially purified solution, that solution is loaded as in the form of sample loading. Okay, this is sample loading. It is passed through the affinity support, that is the matrix. The protein of interest interact with the ligand by the mechanism of adsorption, and the other contaminants, or that is other proteins or molecules, are washed from the column with binding buffer. Okay, in this case you can see that the desired target protein has been adsorbed to the ligand. Okay, this is the target protein which we are trying to isolate is adsorbed to the ligand. Okay, and the remaining non-specific molecules in the mixture can simply be eluted out by addition of binding buffer. Okay, or you can simply wash it, or you can simply add a buffer for the elution of non-specific molecules. Okay, after the washing step, the third step is the recovery of our desired molecule from the column. The desired molecule can be obtained highly purified by changing the elution conditions to release the protein from the support. Okay, in order to recover the protein from the column, three methods can be used. For example, you can go through using a buffer having altered pH. Okay, if you are altering the pH, it is going to alter with the ligand and protein interaction, right? Then you can change the ionic strength of the buffer in order to alter the interaction between ligand and protein. Okay, or there is one more technique in which you can simply add a solution of ligand. Okay, a solution of ligand which are specific to the protein and compete for the binding site of the protein. Okay, these ligands are competing for binding to the protein at a site other than this site. Okay, for example, this is your protein, this one is the ligand binding site, and this one is the binding site for the ligand which you have added to the column. Okay, so you can go through this third technique. Okay, the competing for the binding site will lead to the recovery of the desired protein. Okay, so this was the final step. So for example, you have collected the fraction at each of the three stages. Okay, the first stage was simply the preparation of the column. Okay, addition of protein mixture. The second stage was washing. On the second stage, you will see that the collected fraction will give you absorbance, and the absorbance which you have achieved is because of the non-specific molecules. Okay, the non-specific proteins which were present in the sample. Okay, so you will get absorbance. Then finally at third step you have recovered the protein. Okay, and at third step the collected fraction will give you a peak which is for your target protein. Okay, so this is the visual output of the chromatography, which is termed as chromatogram, showing an optimal separation. Different peaks correspond to different components of the crude sample. Crude sample means a mixture of different components. Okay. Okay, so now we will be talking about sample loading. In case of sample loading, you can have two options. You will have two options. Either you can load the crude extract, or either you can load the partial mixture. Okay, crude extract is the initial solution which you have extracted from the cell. Okay, and partial mixture is, for example, you have treated the crude extract at different level and finally you are having a partial mixture of proteins. Okay, the partial mixture is the mixture in which you have completely eliminated the unwanted molecules like nucleic acids or lipids. Okay, and the crude extract is containing all the cellular contents. Okay, this crude extract is going to include all the cellular contents, whereas after going through several extraction process or separation process, you will get a partial mixture. Okay, so you can see here a crude extract can be directly applied in an affinity chromatography column. The application of crude extract has the advantage of avoiding other steps that lengthen the process. If you are using crude extract, means you are completely eliminating these different stages. Okay, however, the substances, for example, the other proteins or nucleic acids and lipids which are present in the extract can interfere with the protein and ligand interaction. Okay, so therefore before the chromatography, one or more steps for partial separation of undesirable constituents are incorporated in the purification protocol. Okay, so it is better to treat the crude extract with different stages in order to eliminate the unwanted molecule and having a partial mixture which can be easily purified by using affinity chromatography. Okay, then what are the different forces that generally stabilize the protein and the affinity interaction? Protein and affinity means the protein and its ligand interaction. Okay, so the protein's structure, as I have told you that the protein structures are maintained by different non-covalent interactions, right? In the similar way, the protein and the affinity interactions are going to be stabilized or are going to interact by hydrophobic interactions or other non-covalent interactions, okay, that are going to take place between the polar residues and other type of connections. Okay, when we talk about enzymes, enzymes generally have active site. Okay, and this active site is involved in specific substrate binding. Okay, many a time enzymes also require a water molecule in their catalysis mechanism in order to stabilize the transition state, right? So many a time they require water molecule as an intermediate, or many a time the amino acid side chain can act as an intermediate for stabilizing the reaction. Okay, so in the similar way, this is going to happen in the column. Many of the mentioned residues may be in contact with a single substrate which you have immobilized on the column. The connection can occur through various combination of hydrophobic interactions or ionic bonds or hydrogen bonds and charge transfer. When we study about enzyme mechanism, we have studied about acid-base catalysis, then covalent catalysis, right? So in the very similar way, there will be interaction mechanism in the column with between the enzyme and substrate. Okay, then the ideal condition for affinity chromatography correspond to those in which the adsorbate and the adsorbent interaction resembles the enzyme substrate binding. So here they have mentioned about the specificity of the protocol, that the conditions are highly specific like the enzyme and the substrate. Okay, the adsorbent, that is the support, can interact with proteins applied to the column by ionic interactions, hydrogen bonds, hydrophobic interactions, or other binding site present on the surface of proteins. Okay, for example, this is your matrix. Okay, this is a spacer arm. Many a times you will see that in market there are ready-made column available, like in which they have already immobilized the matrix with a specific ligand for isolation or purification of specific molecule. Okay, so this is a spacer arm, which is generally a hydrocarbon chain, which is immobilized, through to which the ligand is immobilized. Okay, and then you add a mixture of your sample, and then you will see that here there will be non-covalent interaction. Okay, as it is non-covalent, therefore the process is reversible. Okay, therefore we are going to recover our molecule. Okay, non-covalent interaction will happen between the target molecule and the ligand, whereas the other undesired molecules will be eluted out. Okay, now we are going to start with the next part, which is the lectin purification by affinity chromatography. First we will discuss what is lectin, okay, and then we will go to the review part. In the picture you can see this is a lectin, which is a tetramer, and it is having 4 binding site for sugar molecules, okay, which are present in the carbon of the tetramer. You can also see that the lectins are the real models of protein purification exploring affinity interactions. So different lectins from different biological sources have been purified by using affinity chromatography. Okay, so firstly we are going to see what are lectins. Lectins can be defined as proteins or glycoproteins of non-immunoglobulin nature, capable of specific recognition of reversible binding to carbohydrate moieties of complex glycoconjugates without altering the covalent structure of any of the recognized glycosyl ligands. Okay, so this is a standardized definition which was given in 1994. Simply, lectins are proteins which specifically bind to the carbohydrate. Okay, which specifically bind to the carbohydrate. Now it depends that whether the carbohydrate is in free form or whether it is in conjugate form with another molecule. Okay, lectins can simply bind with carbohydrate if it is a monomer. It is having 1 binding site for sugar. If it is dimer, it will have 2 binding sites. If it is a tetramer, it will have 4 binding sites, okay, for the sugar. Also, it is non-immunoglobulin in nature. Okay, so therefore it is having different advantage. Then, apart from that, lectins also have the ability to agglutinate cells such as erythrocytes, lymphocytes, fibroblasts, and bacteria, apart from being able to precipitate glycoconjugates. So you can see here that lectins shows agglutination property. Okay, so if you are working on lectins and you have purified the lectin by affinity chromatography, so now you can perform a lectin assay. Okay, or lectin assay or determination of lectin activity. Okay, for example, you want to determine the lectin activity, so you can go through this agglutination test. Okay, you can take a blood sample, red blood cell, and you can simply treat it with the lectins in order to see the agglutination reaction. Okay, then the first work which have been done for lectin purification is mentioned here. Okay, although lectins occur in living organisms, the plant lectins were the first proteins to be studied. Okay, the first work on lectin was done with a biological source as plant. Okay, taking a biological source as plant. So the largest and best family of plant lectins are obtained from leguminous seeds. Leguminous seeds can be considered as a rich source of lectins. Okay, they generally have 4 binding sites, or simply they are a tetramer, okay, which are having 4 binding sites for the sugar. Okay, based on amino acid sequence. Okay, just a minute, I will erase it here. Based on amino acid sequence, the lectins can be classified as legume lectins or mannose bind lectin, or it can be chitin binding lectins. Okay, these are the three different types of lectins which are subdivided on the basis of its amino acid sequence. Okay, so work has been done on Cannavelia ensiformis seeds, which is generally termed as jack bean. They have been used for the isolation of first lectin, that is concannavalin A, okay, which is simply termed as con A. Okay, this con A or concannavalin A is a lectin which can be dimeric or which can be trimeric. The dimeric form can simply associate with another dimer to form a tetramer. Okay, you can see here a quaternary structure of con A. Okay, in this case, the most important point is the column which can be used for isolation or for purification of this con A lectin is made up of maltamyl saccharose 4B affinity matrix. This matrix composition has been used for successful isolation of con A lectin from the mixture. Okay, this is the first study. Then lectins have been purified from Cartelia mollis seeds using a column of Cephadex matrices, and these Cephadex have two property. The first one is the gel filtration property, and apart from that they also have the ability to bind to lectins. Okay, ability of the lectins to bind glucose. Okay, so this is also another study for the isolation of lectin from these seeds, and in this case the column matrix is made up of Cephadex. Okay, then the next study, in this case the galactose specific lectins have been purified using a column matrix of gar gel beads. The gar gel beads are produced in vitro by cross-linking of refined gar gum with epichlorohydrin in a mixture of water and 2-propanol. Okay, you can get the preparations on Google easily. Okay, I'm just giving you the work which have been done for different lectin isolation. Okay, these are about the column matrix. Okay, these are the column. Okay, then the next is chitin binding lectin. It has also been isolated by using affinity chromatography technique, and in this case the column which have been prepared for isolation of this lectin is containing a powder of chitin. A powder of chitin has been used which were extracted from crab shells. Okay, and it has been hydrated in a equilibrating solution. According to the paper, the technique is a cheap, efficient and rapid technique to purify the lectins, which have great potential as insecticidal and antimicrobial agents. Then a ferromagnetic levain, which is also prepared in vitro composite, was developed and efficiently used in purification of this mollis lectin. Okay, Cartelia mollis lectin. Then egg glycoproteins were immobilized and affinity matrix was efficient to purify lectins from the extract of Phaseolus vulgaris, Lens culinaris and Triticum vulgaris. Okay, so you can see the different work which have been done, the different column composition, the different biological sources which have been used for the isolation and purification of lectins. Okay, so I hope you understood the video. If still you have any kind of doubt, you can mention in the comment section. I will try to mention the reference or the research paper from which I have taken the points, so you can get the depth knowledge from the paper. Okay, don't forget to follow Lone Life Science on our Instagram channel for amazing facts on science. Okay, thank you so much for watching.